Panelists will be able to comment on any item when called upon by the chairman. Panelist microphones will be muted until called upon. For voting, to take a motion or second a motion, EDC members can raise a hand and be acknowledged by the host or chair. To vote on a motion, EDC members will be called upon individually by the chair to vote. Attendees in the webinar are the public and the non-panelist. Attendees will be able to speak during public communications. Attendees will be able to ask to raise their hand during public communications if they want to speak at this time by using the icons to raise their hand at the bottom of the screen. Attendees will be called on by the host one at a time and will be able to speak during this time. Attendees must identify themselves before speaking. Attendees can also submit any comments in writing to the Economic Development Commission after the meeting regarding any item discussed tonight. Reminder, these meetings are broadcast on the town's YouTube channel. Please be cognizant of surroundings during this meeting. That last little part just means everything will be out there for the public for things. So I think we're all very responsible people to begin with, but just recognize that this will be able to be viewed by all. Lauren, did I cover it all?
I think you're good.
Very good. Roll call. Bill Groves, Chairman, EDC. Craig, go down.
Oh, hold on one second. Okay.
Craig Millen, Vice Chair.
Susan.
Ready? Can you hear me? Oh, Susan Dowling, EDC Chair. Not Chair, EDC. Prior Chair.
Please, if you'd like.
Sorry.
Paul.
Paul McGurk, Commissioner.
Who else? Justin? Who's?
I am here, and can I just say, I want to be honest with everyone. I have not been sworn in, so I cannot vote on anything, but I'd love to be part of the conversation.
So just let it be noted that Justin is a liaison at this time and will be sworn in as a new member of the commission as soon as able.
Heather Giannakopoulos, Commissioner.
Hi, Heather. Missing? Oh,
Rachel Franco, Town Council.
hi, Rachel.
Rusk RTM.
Oh, there we go.
Yes, I don't see all you guys. I'm sorry.
Adam Wright, Subbase.
Paige, you want to, is that everyone for liaisons? Yep.
Paige Bronk, Town of Groton.
Sam, you there?
No, Sam's not in here yet.
Is that it, Lauren? I can't see him also. I'm going to go by you.
Yep. That's everyone.
Very good. Oh, there, I got everyone in front of me now. Beautiful. Okay. Is there anyone else in attendance that is not a member of our liaisons, staff, or commission?
There is not.
Thank you. Public hearing, seeing no one from outside, there's no public hearing. Move on to consideration of public hearings. There are none. Approval of the minutes. Everyone have an opportunity to review the minutes of March 10th, 2020, which was our last. Do I have a motion to approve?
Remember, you have to raise your hand for this.
Craig? Do I have a second? Greg Mellon made a motion, and do I have a second on it?
Heather.
And Heather has seconded it. Do I have any changes, anything that anyone wants to discuss on the minutes? Hearing no comments, I will vote on the motion to approve the minutes for the meeting of March the 10th, 2020. All in favor? Now, do I have to go through each individual one, Lauren?
Yes, we have to do a roll call vote.
So roll call vote. So Craig,
Yes.
Susan,
Hi.
Paul,
Aye.
Heather.
Aye.
Okay, the minutes have been approved. Next up on the agenda, public communications. I don't believe we have any public communications at this time. This is going to be a pretty quick meeting. And we have next down thing, special permits. We have none. And am I reading off the right minutes there, Lauren?
No.
I can't see what you're reading off.
I know
of.
you can't. I'm just reading what was sent over to me. I'm like, oh, wait a second. This seems a little like it's a different type of meeting. You have subdivision site plan. So am I reading off the?
Oh, no, that's not,
that
that
was,
is not part of the packet.
that's fine. I didn't,
It's just the,
I love this stuff.
Bill, I love that you can at least laugh about it.
Oh God, I've been through worse than this. I can tell you that much, Justin.
You know what? If you can't laugh right now, then we're all dead.
That's beautiful because guess what? We're not. Everything's going to be fine as long as we keep on doing what we're doing. So old business, the business outreach. And I'll tell you, this has probably been the number one thing I've been getting feedback, and I appreciate it all. I've been doing my best to respond. I know Susan has given me some input, and Craig and such. And it's also that's come through the staff itself. So the main thing I've heard across the board is what can we do? You know, we got the small businesses out there right now are just really hurting. I deal with them on a daily basis. From a bank standpoint, we are doing what we can through the SBA PPP program and various grants and such. So I'll tell you what, I'm going back to the bank after this meeting to continue with what I'm doing because it's really getting them funds. Paige and I discussed this also, and I would say to all that are on and anyone else you speak to on the commission is probably the best thing we can do right now. And the biggest impact is we each have a list of those names that we were given to do when we were going to have that forum of last month. I would reach out to those names. Those are all business owners, primarily restaurants and such, and really communicate with them to see what else can we be doing. Maybe direct them to certain areas if they have questions. I'm happy to field questions from the banking standpoint, from an EDC position, but to give them input in some of the things that I see out there right now. But I would say that's probably the biggest impact that we can have as commissioners short term to do. There are also some other things. I know there's a Zoom meeting being held, I believe, next week that is not part of EDC. I think the town council or someone is putting that together from the same type of aspect. So that these are things that we can communicate with business owners, and we'll go over that, but there's a lot of information that maybe they're not aware of. Kudos goes to Sam and to Paige and to Lauren and everyone else. Because if you've ever taken a look at the webpage over this whole period of time, they have just put every bit of resources we can put out there to business to view. Our job is to make sure they know it's there. So that's another way of outreaching to that list of names you have, because that really is what we've been talking about since I've been on the commission is what can we do? Outreach. So we're trying forums, we're trying these things. Unfortunately, this kind of put a little bit of a block to it, but it didn't stop us from doing what we're trying to do. Also going forward, of course, we had to postpone the forum we had set and we were all ready to go with, unfortunately. Paige, Sam, myself discussed that towards the end of the month, we probably would like to put through a Zoom forum also. The same way, we have those lists. Let's reach out to them and give another forum to be able to address exactly what is going on out there and where maybe we can be of assistance, and they can pool things they're dealing with and ideas they might be having. And I know the restaurants have been very creative. We can build upon that type of thing and share with them. So those are just some of the ideas on what we can continue to do with outreach. I don't think we should stop just because we're stuck at home, we're stuck in the office. We have phones, we have email. Another great idea of trying to capture their emails. And when you're talking to them, get me your email, I'll get information over to you. Because Sam and Paige and Lauren, who's the really the one that makes all this stuff happen. They've been great about following up with all that type of stuff. So that's what I have on outreach. Does anyone have any input they want on that? Of going forward on our business outreach, or opening it up to the floor?
Hold on,
Justin?
can you guys hear me?
Oh, Rachel, I'll get you next.
Yeah.
Justin.
Hold on. Coming from let me get to better Wi-Fi service. Coming back to the banking side of it, a lot of people felt the PPP wasn't a great deal. Hold on. Okay. Are we there?
We're here.
All right. So, a lot of people had issues with the PPP, me being one of them, because it's dangerous if you don't overpay all your employees. But are you familiar with the payroll tax credit,
Correct.
also known as the employee retention credit?
Correct. That's not handled by the banks, though.
Yes. Which to me seems like a better deal than, and like, I don't think a lot of businesses know about that because that was not publicized in any way.
And Justin, I'll tell you what, great point. And those are the types for someone like yourself that I've been dealing with the PPP. Bring the information with inside, because that's the stuff we want to be getting out to other restaurateurs or other businesses that aren't aware of it. PPP is a specific product, and I'm not going to debate whether it's good or not. I know what I'm doing with it. So, but
oh no, for my level of staff, it doesn't work.
So perfect. Send that information in through Lauren Page and such like that, and we will digest it and get it out there.
Okay.
Thank you.
Yeah, I definitely will.
Rachel.
So for outreach, I had made a referral this week with the council that I would like the EDC to do forums. I do know that I don't know if it's economic development department or if it's planning, but they're going to be putting on something next week on Tuesday morning at 9 a.m. But I'd also like the economic development committee to do forums for businesses and to help them and help guide them through what's going on during COVID, because there's so many regulations. And just from a perspective of as being a business manager, we were very excited and thinking we were going to be, I work for a dental office, but we were very excited thinking we were going to open on May 20th. And because we kept looking towards the state for guidelines, but then come to find out OSHA has totally different guideline and said, no, stay with your emergency patients, don't open. So just helping businesses through this, I think there's so much going on that if you guys could help businesses and even give advice on, like this past weekend, there were so many people out, and there was one business in particular in Groton that there was something put on social media that they were being shamed because their parking lot was so full and they had such a line of, patrons trying to get takeout food. How does a business handle that? How do they deal with social distancing, and what are their rights maybe to expect people to wear masks? And so there's a lot of information that I think you guys could help with businesses and what they can be doing during this time, and how many people are going to be allowed to be in their buildings. What is their square footage? I mean, these are all the outreach things that I think that can be helped, educate these businesses and help them through this, because there's so much. And a lot of people have no idea how to find all this information either, or where to get it, or where to start to get it. So I don't know, especially with retail reopening. And I just think the more outreach right now, the better, because if there's different ways for them to get information, the better. And I know Paige and I both sat in on the restaurant. The chamber this morning had a restaurant forum, and they were talking about what's going on with the state and what they're advocating for, and the possibilities of having outdoor dining. I mean, there's just so much, but there were a lot of people on that meeting. There were 2 pages of Zoom, attendees. So I'm hoping for the more outreach that can be done, the better. And I would really love it. Me personally would love it if you could help. So that's my little 2 cents
Well,
on.
thank you, Rachel, because Paige and I discussed the same thing. So that's exactly, we're on the same page, right? You wanna share,
Phil, can
Rachel?
I make a comment?
Yes,
on that
please.
front? So we have talked about business outreach forever and a day, and I'm not going to reinvent all the conversations, but we've always said the relationships, the conversations are important. It's not an interview. It's not a questionnaire. There's no script. I think this issue that we have faced with COVID brings that situation to light. Businesses need a conversation. They need to know that there's someone they can talk to, someone they get information from, maybe a connection to the town, somebody, a lifeline. That really is the role of business outreach. So I think almost now more than any other time, it really should come to light that it is truly needed if we're going to help businesses reinvent, get creative, and get through this problem that they have ahead of them. It doesn't mean that we have all the answers. Trust me, even technical staff, we don't have all the answers, but we're willing to talk to people, listen, and try to give a little bit of direction. And I think EDC commissioners could do the same.
So just to agree with Paige and I discussed this beforehand, and point well taken with Rachel's comments. I'm honest. I mean, I heard that the 20th is the date. My head has been in work at this point, and I don't know the particulars. So we will take the opportunity to get as much knowledge as we can, exactly what the 20th means, because there's a lot of different information I've heard. I'm shooting to do that type of forum for the end of the month, just because of logistics. So once again, that's why the list that we already have, and if you don't have a list, reach out to Lauren. She'll get you your list back. I mean, I have mine right over here, so it's not that big of a deal. That's our starting point to communicate. And then I would assure you that if you talk to them, they will talk to other people, because, you know, the last one, if they had 2 pages of people participating, they got time on their hands and they want information. So Justin, did you have your hand raised?
They had like a half-hour conversation this morning with Paige, and he pointed me to a lot of different resources that everyone should be knowledgeable of, but it's like you have to call someone to get those resources, I feel like. And Paige, I appreciate that, because I got very little done this afternoon because I was looking at everything online that you had sent me. But I will have to admit, Paige and everyone else has done an amazing job of making sure there is a easy link to find a great resource.
So our job back to that is basically to get people to all that information they've been inputting, because I watch it and they do keep it updated daily. Anyone else? Paige, did you have something else to say, or you're just?
Well, I think the topic of information, I was planning on commenting the COVID-19 agenda item. So I'm going to hold that. I'm going to hold that, but specific to business outreach, Sam had reached out to Miranda Creative. That was one idea for the future. Obviously, small businesses are having to reinvent, whether it's dealing with new spatial requirements, their business plan, what it is they can sell, how they can sell it. And Miranda Creative, they deal with marketing for small businesses. And I can tell you that she's at home right now herself. She's up in Norwich, and she's known as an expert social media and marketing professional. She was very excited about doing a Zoom meeting in the future, trying to help small business. I think pretty much brainstorm. She can bring certain ideas and tools to the conversation. And of course, if there's a cost, Groton will pay. It won't be exorbitant. We think that might be something that we could tee up as a business outreach forum moving forward. Bill, I know you had talked about one in the future regarding financial assistance, and we're in triage mode right now. I don't know the right time to talk about financial assistance, but we have a number of individuals, including Sector, also the Connecticut Small Business Development Center, that they're interested in coordinating, but they're all quite busy at this exact moment, as are the banks.
Right. Thank you, Paige. And you know what? I'm not even adverse just tailing off of this. As you know, I say at the end of the month, I think Zoom meetings are something we can do more regular. They're not as intense about getting a room and that. So we will look to see maybe we can do them more often. I don't want to commit to weekly, but if the need is there, we should try to meet the need from communications, even if they're shorter meetings or smaller meetings. I don't really know, but it's definitely something I will be happy to coordinate and participate with going forward. So with that, I'm going to move on to new business, and this is where so Paige can share what he has on it. So of course it's COVID-19 and the effects on local business. Paige, you want to start off?
Sure. I actually have a couple pages of notes on this. I'm going to try to move it along, but it really is important that I think the Economic Development Division has taken this situation quite seriously. We are well connected statewide, and we have watched how other economic development organizations have functioned, and there really is no one way. So I do want to describe the strategy that we've taken just so the EDC understands, and I think that'll help you when you speak with businesses in pointing them in the right direction. So obviously we've experienced business shutdown, started in March, went through all of April, and it's going to go through most of May. I'm going to finish this conversation at the end by talking about the governor's comments, but to begin this discussion, basically May 20th is when there's a planned 4-phase opening in the state. So in March, when we were all faced with this situation, we were addressing what is the best way to respond, and we came up with a few different approaches. The first one dealt with financial resources and getting that information out. Fortunately, we had Explore More, we had our social media that was set up, so we used those platforms. A lot of other communities, I can say, they went from either doing very little, or others was more of a stream of consciousness. They felt more was better. We believed that it was a complex problem and the solutions were complicated coming down from the federal government, state government. We saw our role as trying to best understand what was going on, what are the resources, how do we distill it down to something that people can really understand and try to convey it. So mainly we push that information out through our website and also social media. We focused on primary data. What I mean by that is we didn't try to paraphrase. We didn't daily do our own articles trying to describe or interpret. Knowing that a lot of these resources provided by the state and federal government were going to change daily, we tried to stick with the hyperlinks. And that way, as they were changed at higher levels, our local sources were still accurate. We coordinated quite regularly with a number of federal and state and regional agencies, DECD, SBA, SBDC, list goes on. I have them here. I'm not going to bore you, but there are a lot of agencies that were involved, a lot of moving targets, 2-3 Zoom meetings a day, just trying to figure out what was going on. Although the CARES Act that was passed by Congress is helpful, the challenge was there was a significant delay and confusion in distributing the funds through the application process. The federal government worked at light speed, but getting the money into a small business wallet was a challenge. Bill had just mentioned the two big programs, PPP and the EIDL, which is the Economic Injury Disaster Loan. Those were taking up a lot of time and bringing people up to speed on how small businesses could take advantage of those. Meanwhile, the Connecticut's credit, they created the Connecticut bridge loan process. At first, they said the feds were going to take too long to get the money out. Well, even the state took quite a while to get their money out as well. It's not easy to push that kind of money out to fix a small business problem. So back to what we focused on. Rather than reinventing the wheel, we thought we could better package and try to educate people and provide this primary data. Was it successful? Anecdotally, I think we're hearing people say that it was successful. What is the metric that proves it? Sam ran the numbers for last month, April, and basically we had an 88% increase in total web sessions in April from past months, 88%. In addition, we had a 73% increase in average web time duration. So that to us is the indicator of success. People were going to our website for this primary data. They could have gone to a lot of places, and maybe they did as well, but they went to explore more Groton, where we had our resources so that they could try to understand this the best. Second thing we did was focus on restaurants. We identified fairly early that restaurants were probably one of the highest, most vulnerable small business industry that we had in town. They were either immediately closed or they were reduced in operations fairly significant. Their gross receipts went from, if you call it 100%, I think they went down to probably on average 10% of what they're normally accustomed to. Restaurants are important to Groton's economy, but they're highly fragile. They have high operating costs, labor dependent, small profit margins, seasonal fluctuations, weather dependent, and they're also impacted by their supply chain complexities as well. So on the website, we did create basically this restaurant link under news and media. We have a restaurant update, and also Lauren put together Eat Local, Win Local, and I would like her to actually talk about that at this point in time. She was the one that put that together.
Okay, everyone. So we did do the Win Local, Eat Local, Win Local program that closed on Monday the 4th. The idea actually came out of Berlin. We mirrored that. The gentleman there that worked in the Economic Development Office was happy to share the program with a couple different communities. And I think it was very successful. We had almost 50 entries, totaling about close to $4,000. And that's just those entries that submitted. I know, obviously many other people spent money during that time, but we did have the 50 entries, and it was a handful, a variety of restaurants that people were frequenting. So people have until tomorrow to submit receipts, and then we will do the drawing on Monday and get people their $25 gift certificates. We're going to give 10 $25 gift certificates to 10 different winners. So I think it was successful. People appreciated it. We got a lot of positive feedback from residents. I don't know, if it impacted the restaurants, how they would feel about it, but I'm pleased with the turnout. And it's we're going to look to do one for retail and service industries once those are up and running.
Thanks, Lauren.
Oh, is Sam on the line?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, how you doing, Mitch?
All right. The third thing that we did was gauge the business situation. The instrument we used was a survey, and we can all guess on where businesses were over the past 6 to 8 weeks, but we wanted to really rationally understand the current status, greatest issues, needs. And that survey ran from April 9th to 21st. Sam took that on. And the results of that survey are really important for us because it's going to help us better target a direction and help with any resources. So Sam, if you could touch on the effort that you took on and describe the process and findings, that would be great.
Sure. Thanks, Paige. I hope you guys all got a chance to see it. It should be in your packet. I could share the screen, but I don't want to take a lot of time unless there's specific questions. But I do want to point out the survey was conducted, as Paige said, from April 9 through 21. You can imagine exactly what was going through everyone's mind at that time, and they really were focused on exclusively on triage, and that is reflected in the results that we found. 83%. The vast majority of the businesses that responded have fewer than 10 employees. So we're really talking about the small businesses in town, and nearly half of them fell into the categories of retail, dining, or personal services. We had 71 total respondents over this time, and at the time, what we learned from it was that about half of the companies were closed temporarily based on their situation at that very moment. So, as I said, the results reflected everyone's, really, severe concerns about what had just happened. 92% of them were concerned primarily about loss of sales. 3/4 of them felt that a cash loan or a grant was the most important element towards their recovery. And nearly 60% of the businesses that were surveyed expected to close, that they might need to close permanently if they couldn't reopen or increase their operations closer to full operations by July. That's actually kind of in line with some data that we've seen from the United States Chamber of Commerce. More than half of the businesses surveyed plan to take advantage of the payroll protection program. So I'm happy to answer specific questions now or at the tail end of this, but I'll tell you that it's really a snapshot, and we would imagine that another survey taken right now might reflect that people are starting to pivot to reopening, and then after that it's going to be potentially a focus on the long-term survival, the reinvention. And the last I could tell you was that Aaron Brooks from Groton Utilities was in touch with me this week, and Groton Utilities is planning to do another survey. I don't know about next week, but certainly in the coming couple of weeks, and he's using my survey questions as a reference. So I think that that's going to be another good snapshot for us. And, we'll revisit this as needed. But if people have questions, I'm happy to answer them.
Sam,
I'm just
can I
gonna-
say something quickly.
Sure, Justin.
I did the survey.
Okay.
If I did today, my answers would have been very different than they were 6 weeks ago.
Sure. Okay. Thanks for the
Very
feedback.
different.
That was our presumption.
Bill, I just have a little bit more in terms of what we've been working on with COVID, and then I'll wrap up.
Very good.
So gauging the business situation through the survey, that was number 3. And then the last item, which is fairly recent, is in trying to provide more guidance for business opening. Just this week, we've been trying to populate that same webpage. Under Explore More Groton, it's under the Doing Business drop down. It's COVID-19 Business Assistance. That's where you'll find a lot of the resources I already covered, but we've really just started populating, giving guidance. So obviously the state is targeting May 20th, but businesses are wondering, well, what am I going to be allowed to do? What are the requirements, et cetera? They're not going to wait until May 19th and say, okay, tomorrow I'm going to open. It's going to take them some time. So we're lacking guidance. We have relied on industry guidance. Case in point, restaurant guidance from a restaurant industry, or a salon and barber guidance, or retail guidance, just so that these national leaders and organizations who probably know better than us we're going to rely on their information and populate our website until some future date the state provides their own guidance. Maybe it's in line, maybe it's different, but at least it'll give the businesses a leg up on understanding how is this done nationwide. And again, we're using that primary data from reliable sources. This isn't something that we've developed locally. We just have reviewed it. We believe it's accurate, and we've started putting it on the website. So there was the mention about Tuesday, this coming Tuesday, May 12th, 9:30. The title of that Zoom meeting is called Reopening Businesses in Groton. We'll talk about what types of businesses will be opening. We'll talk about how locally we're going to assist these businesses, similar to what I've been describing. In addition, though, the planning staff have been working on creating some very basic standards to allow outdoor seating and dining for restaurants. They kind of wrestled with this. Do we need to do a zoning amendment? What do we need to do? And Deb Jones in the office has really taken the lead, and basically it's going to be an administrative review, an administrative approval. There will be no board or commission action, and she's trying to make it as simple as she can. There'll be no fee. So that will be released next week. I think Tuesday morning in the 9:30 Zoom meeting will be the first time that we really talk about that, but it's being done to try to help businesses in preparation for that May 20th timeframe. I'm going to close here just saying, to my understanding, Governor Lamont is doing that 4-phase opening starting May 20th. There is a reopen task force that he's working on. I believe yesterday he was asked, what about the guidelines? He says, we're working on it. He said there may be something out within the next day or two that will help restaurants. Rhode Island actually released theirs yesterday. I looked at the guidance for businesses. It's still pretty general. I still think the industry standards are going to be far better than what state government provides, at least on the front end of this phase. Just a little summary of what types of businesses will be open and how they'll be impacted. The governor is focusing on the businesses that do not fit that essential category. So he's hoping to capture most of the non-essential commerce that was not previously able to be open. There will be no indoor restaurant seating. That's a real big point of contention that was discussed this morning. Rachel mentioned that we were on that call. The restaurant industry very much would like some indoor seating, but it appears that for May 20th, it'll be outdoor alone. Business types, restaurants will be open, outdoor only. Remaining retail would be opened. Offices, however, there's a caveat. The governor is encouraging people to still continue to work from home if possible. Personal services, including hair and nail salons, and also outdoor recreation. And I think that's all I have at this point.
Thanks, Paige. Anyone want to comment on what the bulk of what Paige said? I know they've done a tremendous amount of work in the communication standpoint, and I reiterate that make those outbound calls and at a minimum refer them to the Explore page, because it has just been an incredible resource. Hopefully some of the talks I've had with business owners has helped them refer it over to that page to see those increases. Anyone else want to share on this?
Bill, I would just like to say Paige has been wonderful through this whole thing.
Paige is wonderful. Thank you, Justin.
He's been a cornerstone for me.
Well, Lauren and Sam have been kicking butt.
Yes,
that's
they
all I
have
to
been.
say.
Both of them, as I said, as a group, the three of us, I think we've had one Zoom meeting to test it before. We went over a lot of stuff, and they've kept me informed all along the way, and I keep on going into the page to see what they're talking about. And it's been amazing amount of resources they've thrown into that page over this period of time. So kudos to the whole team. And I'm sure there's other staff members that aren't even being recognized from that. Anyone else?
Rachel?
Rachel?
Yeah, so I'm really excited about everything that you're doing. And I mean, you've just been on top of everything and I think it's great. And from what the town manager says, that meeting is going to be the first of many. So this isn't going to be the only meeting, like, here's what we found out. And, you know, this has to be an ongoing help the community, help our businesses. Because I mean, they're going to, just from my perspective, and I'm sure you all completely understand it, they are going to need as much help as they can get because they are in like the worst times I think they've probably ever faced in their life of trying to help their business stay afloat. I mean, I don't know what, when we're done with this, what Groton's going to look like in our business sector. I'm worried about it. I'm very worried about it. So, and as a under the COVID topic for businesses, and I'm just going to throw it in now instead of my report later.
Sure.
Council had did a tax deferment that the governor had brought down to the municipalities that we could do. We were given two options. Well, actually three, but it's a tax deferment for 3 months or lowering the rate of interest on taxes for 3 months. Or you could do a combination. So we did a combination. And so and this also didn't just cover taxes, it covered utilities. And so your tax deferment for regular residential people in Groton will be for 3 months. Your car taxes, your house taxes, unless you have it in escrow. Now your escrow will be paying as they normally do, probably unless you're behind on your payments. And Bill, you may know more about that part of it. But from what I understand is if you're on time with your payments for your mortgage and you have escrow, they're going to pay out.
Correct.
If you're behind on your payments, they may not pay your escrow. Is that correct?
Correct.
Okay. So businesses will get a decrease down to, I believe it is 1% or 3% for taxes for 3 months. It is all due though for both people at the end of 3 months. If you are a business and you don't pay at the end of 3 months, then which is October 1st, the original tax at 18, I think it's like 18% or something. I can't, it's some kind of crazy number. It goes retro back to the beginning. So the reason this is done is, trust me, I would have liked to do a deferment for all the businesses at, you know, just no paperwork, no nothing. But we have to get money coming into our town, and Pfizer, Electric Boat, we needed to make sure that they were part of this. And so the businesses actually have to fill out a form, and they have to show that there's a need for them to get this deferment for 3 months. So as they're part of that, Pfizer basically and EB I can't see how they would say they needed a deferment. So they will be responsible for paying their taxes during those 3 months, because we're going to need this kind of money coming in to be able to stay afloat for at least a quarter. So if any businesses out there would like this deferment, they need to fill out a form. It's on the town website, and it's very important that we get the word out because they have to fill it out by July 1st. So
Are those town property taxes?
Yes.
Okay, so because I pay tax on every table I have in the restaurant, every chair I have in the restaurant.
And yeah, it's the property tax, your personal property tax. Yes, it includes that as well.
Okay.
And your, like if you had real estate, like business real estate.
Okay.
So that cuts for businesses, landlords, and nonprofits have to fill out a form if they would like to do a deferment for those 3 months at a lower interest rate. So
Is that on Groton's website?
it's on the Groton Town website, and it's imperative that we get this information out there.
Hey,
Yes,
Justin, could you just, I'd like to hear Rachel, what she wants to get out. I know you want to comment on it, but we just try to keep
Oh,
the
no,
order.
I was just curious.
Well, that's fine.
I'll let her talk, Bill.
Yep, just raise your hand if you want to communicate, and Lauren will let you back in. Sorry, Rachel, go ahead.
Oh, I'm sorry. So it's businesses, landlords, and nonprofits have to fill out this form by July 1st. it's imperative that we can get this information out to as many people as we possibly can. I mean, I've shared it on social media. I didn't get too many likes or hits on it. I don't know if it's the right forum for it. I think Heather has put something out as well, because I know I reached out to her and sent her an email. And when I find out something for business, I try and reach out to Heather. And but as much as you can share with your group of people to get this out, I think it'll help businesses because they need to keep the cash flow. And I think regardless of anything, if you can't afford to pay it, you're not going to pay it. So if it's between keeping your business going and taxes, you're probably going to be trying to keep your business going and wait on the taxes and pay penalties later. But it's something that the town's trying to do, and we had within the governor's guidelines, because we can't do it without the governor's guidelines, and then you have to go through the state. So that's that for my little COVID.
Thank you, Rachel.
For doing the outdoor
There
thing.
again, reiterating what I said before, those names we have the phone out, that's a perfect call right there. Just to make them aware of that deferment, because there is a timeline we look at July 1st. So I don't know, every day blends. There's no longer days anymore. It just kind of melts. So it's going to hit us before you know it. So Paige, you had something to say?
No, I did not.
Oh, okay. Justin, did you like to finish up?
Heather has her hand up.
Oh, Heather,
Have
I'm sorry, I didn't see. Heather?
Have I become that guy?
Yes, you are that guy, Justin, but that's okay. Heather's going next.
Is there a way we can get updates on how many applications are coming in?
For town taxes? I'm sure we could.
I'm just wondering if we could just whatever we do post to see if we're getting hit right after that and kind of staying on top of, and to know if anybody's listening, anyone's applying.
All right, I'll make a note of it. And honestly, if anybody has some great ideas about what the town can do to help businesses, please reach out to me, because I will try and make initiatives and make things happen, because this is like the part that I'm really passionate about. So if you have ideas, please, you can reach out to me as well. So if there's things that we could do on a town level.
Thank you, and thank you. No other hands? Justin, you're the guy. Lauren's not
I haven't
unmuting
been
him.
sworn in yet, Bill.
You can share if you want to say something.
No.
Okay, well then I'm going to move
I
along.
wanna
because
say-
Unfortunately,
I
my
wanna say
phone's
thank-
ringing off the hook, and I got to get back in at some point. So,
Bill, I want to say thank you to everyone. And
thank you,
know
Justin.
what? I look forward to the day that we can all sit together and talk in person.
Absolutely. This is getting a little bit weird. So next step on is the plastic ordinance. I ran it to everybody just to make sure we had consensus on it. We did send, I sent on behalf of the EDC a letter to the town council posing to delay the ordinance just to give the businesses some time to, and that was back in March, and it's gotten even stranger for the businesses on top of it. Also in your package, you'll see that on the Conservation Commission met also on the 4th of this month, and they also conferred with a 3 to 6 month delay. We never at any time asked for this to be done away with or to be thing. We just wanted to delay. My understanding is that the council, the commission's letters, or at least the conservation, was presented on Tuesday. And I don't know if any action's been taken as yet. That's basically where it is, but I wanted to make sure everyone's updated. Rachel, did you want to speak on that, or?
Conservation Committee did read it at Citizens Petition, their letter. And from my count, there are 4 counselors who do not want to delay. There was one counselor, myself, who said I am in favor of delaying because I know what the businesses are dealing with, and this is just not something we should have on hold. So I don't know where everybody else stands, but you have me, and
Well, appreciate that. As I said, this is just from our standpoint, it was a reach out to the businesses, recognizing that. As far as, so I can take it that it's not finalized yet, that they've made a decision or anything. So we've done the best we can. It's not something I really think we should be harboring on and such like that, let the council make their decision on it. That's really where it belongs. But both, just to understand, is what our position was on it, and also that the concurrence of the Conservation Commission, they were receptive also to delay. So that's where it is. If you want to speak to any counselors that you might know, just to voice an opinion, because I've gotten feedback on it, and I just take it for that, and I shared it also with Rachel and with Leanne. But that's the best we can really do from that standpoint, and let them make the decision on it. Any comments on that? Anyone? Everyone basically in agreement? Okay. Chair report. Basically, you've gotten my chair report. This is where we are. I will get back to Paige at, hopefully I can get a little bit of a respite on Monday, because we're supposed to have phase 1 all funded, or at least ready to fund, to our small businesses. So I'll have a little respite before I have to start on phase 2 of the application process. So hopefully I'll be able to touch base with them and get some of these Zoom forums formulated, then run out to you guys and get your impact, what you guys would like to see happen with them. So that's really where I am with that. Paige, staff report.
Sure. Really, you were provided 2 reports. One was for March and one for April. The upshot is we have been all hands on deck for the most part dealing with the COVID-19 situation. We've already covered that in great detail. So let me just touch on a few other points. Of course, my computer's running pretty slow at the moment. I think people may have seen in the newspaper, we had a significant layoff at PCC Structurals, 71 layoffs at that location. They are heavy into aerospace. I think people are pretty familiar with what's happening nationwide, the whole Boeing situation, and obviously travel with COVID. So it had a direct impact as it went down to smaller companies such as PCC Structurals. On a good note, we did prepare and meet with 3 bond rating agencies in early April, and many of them right off the bat said, we are downgrading all municipal government at this point due to their reliance on revenue from small business, and it can't be good. That was S&P Global, Moody's, and Fitch. All 3 upheld their current bond rating for Groton as a result of strong fiscal management and also the potential for economic growth. So maintaining our status at this point was an incredible victory. So we're pretty happy about that. Even slight changes in bond ratings have huge impacts when you're talking multiple tens of millions of dollars regarding infrastructure and school related projects. On another good note, under public property redevelopment, we really had no idea what to expect once this COVID situation happened. Are people going to get scared? Are they going to put the brakes on? I can honestly tell you, all of our projects, Mystic Education Center, Sealy School, Colonel Ledyard, all of them, they almost seem to pick up speed. And I don't really know why, but it's great news for us. You have my write-up with Mystic Education Center. They are advancing. We're speaking with them weekly. Green Play, our consultant dealing with recreation and the Pratt building, they're moving things along with the engineering and the community-wide recreation assessment. Respler with Fuss and O'Neill, the engineering firm, they're advancing the master plan. We are dealing with a zoning amendment for that property and have recently shared some of that with Respler, and we have some back and forth, and also the tax increment financing master plan moving forward. So there are a lot of pieces that come together to make this project, and they are all advancing at a pretty good pace. Sealy, same thing. They're actually doing some pre-development work out there right now. Fencing has gone up and they're basically setting the stage to remove contamination in the building, and that will be followed by building demolition later on. Colonel Ledyard School, the panel did find a preferred developer. We have not released the details on that yet, but that will be going to council in the near future. And then Pleasant Valley School, we're getting a lot of interest on that. We did originally plan on issuing the RFP in the spring. We're going to bump that to summer. And then if you haven't, I already mentioned, I would encourage you for April to take a look at the metrics for the website. That's where I talked about the 88% increase and 73% increase, all volume and views. And I think that's a great indication of how valuable our information was. So I'll close on that.
Thanks, Paige. Susan, did I see you? Did you want to comment on something or ask a question? Lauren? Lauren, can you unmute Susan?
Sorry, she didn't have her hand up. Let me find her. Hold
That's
on.
all right.
I didn't, but I,
Okay, I thought you did. I'm sorry.
yeah, I may in the future.
Okay, thank you.
Sure.
Thank you, Paige. Liaison reports. I will start with Jill.
Sorry, trying to find that and mute. Thank you. The RTM passed or agreed with the budget, so we approved the town budget on April 11th. There were no changes, so it's 24.46 mils, and that's an increase of 0.29 mils. The town council obviously did a great job on cutting the budget before it even came to the RTM, so the RTM didn't have a lot to even discuss. It went fairly quickly for a Zoom meeting with 41 people, but not bad. And then we had a meeting on April 8th where we authorized the issuance of refunding bonds. And what else did we do? We approved contingency transfer to the city of Groton to do the Thames Street repairs by EB where the water washed out the street, and agreed to grant for the schools. So that's about it.
Thank you, Jill.
Thank you.
Adam, you have anything to share?
Hi, everybody. Actually, yeah, I submitted my report. It's in the package. But the last item is the Defense Community Infrastructure Program, DSIP, and I do have news on that. The call for or request for proposals should be issued by the government any day, like next week, we think. There's a 30-day public comment period, so this will be in the Federal Register. So we'll have 30 days to review this, and it's good. I think the town and Groton Utilities have really solid projects to submit. And what this is, it'll be 30% matched by the town, but 70% covered grant for projects in the community, and utilities are high on their list. Groton is planning to upgrade the, it's called the Gauss Cove sewer pump station, which is the pump station right in front of the Nautilus Museum and right by our main gate. All of the Navy's sewage goes there. A bunch of the local, both the Navy housing and the local communities goes through that. And so it's a key station that has a tie to the base. So that funding would cover potentially 70% of the cost of that project, which is a couple $2 million, I think. So Greg Hanover and John Bird are on that, and Subbase and Bob Ross at the Office of, or the Connecticut Office of Military Affairs in Connecticut will be supporting and providing some language for the proposal. So it's going to be very competitive, I guess, nationwide, but we have a good long-standing successful record with Office of Economic Adjustment, which is a DoD entity that funds the joint land use studies and this DSIP program. So we're kind of approaching it as a team, and hopefully we'll see both the town and the city benefit from this year.
Thanks, Adam.
That's all I have.
Any other business before the commission today? Anyone want to bring up?
Can I just throw out there and ask about?
Oh, I'm sorry, Rachel. I thought you gave your liaison, but I should have called on you anyway. You might have had
Sorry,
something
I
else.
was just being very chatty earlier.
That's fine.
So I saw the highlights. I didn't open the article, but the VA is now opening a medical facility over in London. Do you have any more on that? You're muted.
Adam.
Unmute. Sorry. I don't know anything about that. I'm sorry. VA is actually not DOD. I should know about it, but I don't. I'll find out though, certainly.
I just thought that was amazing because we have such a high concentration of veterans in our area, and to have a medical facility for them to do, to go to would be wonderful, because I believe the sub-base had closed that down. Is that correct?
Yeah, we have a clinic that's just it's light. It's not a real medical facility at this point.
Okay.
Yeah, I didn't know about that. Thank you.
Yeah, and then the town council has not set a mill rate yet. We're going to wait at least until the long as we can, in case things change and we have to make adjustments to anything. But in our budget, just to let you all know, we cut back on as many capital improvement projects as possible and delayed anything we could, just so that we're trying not to have a tax increase. I mean, that's the goal, because I mean, at least I can speak for myself, is that I can see the financial issues that we're all going to be facing and the town as a whole. And I wanted to do whatever I possibly could to just keep, I mean, it's going to be hard because we are pushing so much forward, and there's been so much in the past that they've done the same thing. So it's really difficult, but I mean, this is just not the right time to do things. So that's part of what the town council has done. And that's it. Thanks, everybody.
Thanks, Rachel.
Heather.
Heather. Hand up, Heather.
Hi.
Hi.
I was just going to mention that I have seen a real surge, especially in commercial real estate. I'm swamped. It's unexpected, I guess, but filling office buildings and offers on buildings that have been on the market for a long time, and just there's definitely a surge happening in Groton, but that's where the basic amount of my listings are, so I'm sure it's all over the place, but across.
Thank you, Ever. I can give my 2 cents on that. There's 2 things that I've seen a lot of interest in, and unfortunately banks have kind of shut down to new stuff, is commercial, because people are seeing opportunities, and so you always have to be optimistic from that standpoint. My focus is on saving the ones we have currently, more important, because they're the ones that have been here working and doing all this stuff, but the opportunities are coming in. And also residential, a lot of people, and I'll tell you, if anyone remembers what occurred after September 11th, which was sad, you had a huge amount of people that wanted to get out of cities. And they all, so there are some things that do come out of this, just from my experience. But that's good thing. That's why I'm glad you're on, Heather, because I love having that input on what's going on with the commercial, people coming in looking. So, Paige, did you want to speak?
No, I'm fine.
Oh,
Thanks.
Your little square. It's like the Hollywood squares. I see a little yellow bar. So, all right, guys. Just to end it out, I really wanted to put my thanks out to Paige, Sam, and Lauren, because they have just been incredible throughout this. And please refer anyone and everyone to that Explore page. I plead and implore, and whatever I can do, because this is where we can really do our best, is to make the phone calls. Just extremely important that now we're reaching out, and we will follow up and with future Zoom meetings. If Lauren, you could get out the Tuesday meeting, because some people may like to participate to see what's going on with that regarding, I believe that's being done by zoning. Am I wrong? Or who's actually hosting that meeting on Tuesday morning?
Really, it's a collective, but OPDS is doing it, but we have city and town staff, and also we have Ledge Light participating.
So yeah, that'd be great, Lauren, if you could just get that out to all board commission members and also liaison and such, because I think the more we're learning, especially with the opening standpoint, is the more information we have, the more helpful we can be to the people looking for this information. Anything else anyone has they want to voice, get out, or do I have a motion to adjourn? Craig?
Hold on, Bill.
Yep,
My-
Justin?
My apologies.
For?
I didn't realize like Lauren mutes us, so I kept unmuting myself.
That's quite all
This
right.
is my first Zoom meeting.
Justin, luckily I don't have that ability. I think I might, but I might have been doing it also, so don't worry about it. Well, I have a motion by Craig to adjourn the meeting. Do I have a second?
Susan seconded.
Susan is seconded. No, I have to go through voice again, Lauren?
No, I don't think you need to do that.
All in favor, just raise your hand in front of me. Meeting's adjourned. Thank you very much, guys, for participating.
Thank you.
Everybody.
Thanks,
Stay
guys. Have a
healthy.
good night.